That thing. Father Yah, we come before you right now. Just thank you right now, Father Yah, for this day that you have made. Father Yah, we should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. Father Yah, we thank right now, we just magnify your name on this day, Father Yah. Father Yah, we take this time out right now to just acknowledge you right now with a word of prayer, Father Yah. Father Yah, to exalt your name, to exalt the name of the Mashiach, Father Yah.
Yes, sir.
We just thank you right now for just constantly leading and guiding us into all righteousness, into all truth.
Yes, sir.
We come against all ruachs of sickness. We come against all ruachs, Father Yah, that tries to cause death. Father Yah, we come against those ruachs, those spirits, Father Yah, that tries to cause disease in our body.
Yes,
Father Yah, we come against those ruachs of confusion, Father Yah. Father Yah, because you're not the author of confusion, but you are the author and finisher of our faith.
Yes,
We
sir.
thank you, as your word said, not by power, nor by might, but by my ruach, says Yah. Father Yah, I thank you right now for just constantly being with us as a whole and constantly watching over us. We thank you right now for watching over us from the crown of our head to the sole of our feet.
Yes,
we
Father.
thank you right now that we desire to walk in the ways of you. We thank that we walk in the light. We thank that we're led by the Ruach HaKodesh, that
Yes,
we will
Father.
not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Yes,
We thank you
Father.
right now that in all our ways we acknowledge you, that you may direct our path at all times, Father
Yes,
Yah.
Father.
Father Yah, we thank you that we do have love and affection one towards another. We thank you that we do
Yes,
honor one another. Father Yah, we thank you right now we do give reverence to where reverence is due, Father Yah. Father Yah, we just thank you right now as a whole, Father Yah, for just constantly just allowing our mind to be stayed on the Mashiach, Father
Yes,
Yah.
Father.
Father Yah, we thank you right now that will keep us in perfect peace, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against everything, Father Yah, that tries to cause the issue, Father Yah, in our mind, mentally, Father Yah, that
Yes,
tries
Father.
to deter us from walking this walk, Father Yah. Father Yah, we come against anything that tries to get us off track, Father Yah. We thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow path, Father Yah.
Yes, Father.
Father Yah, we thank you right now as we begin to walk, Father Yah, upright before you, Father Yah, at all times, Father Yah. Father Yah, we think that we should seek the will of you, Father Yah, not
Yes,
our
Father.
will, but let your will be done in our life, Father Yah. Father Yah, in the name of your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray. So be it.
So be it.
Shabbat shalom again, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Get ready to get started. We're going to be dealing with the lack of honor today. That's going to be the today's topic, talking about the lack of honor and what causes us to not honor someone. Most of the time it's through the flesh when you don't honor. It's through information that you have received, something to try to discredit someone. We're going to talk about the lack of honor just to kind of give a background on what made me kind of go here. You know, I thought about the idea of how people don't realize that in some cases, like you can't always just be negative. I think the ruach or spirit of negativity causes a lack of honor. We're dealing with, make me think about David and think about Saul. Saul didn't have a problem when David had to go kill Goliath as he was a little boy when he tried to give him all this armor and everything. But as soon as he was disobedient and didn't want to do what he was supposed to do, the Most High rejected him and he chose David as king. Then he got upset with him and wanted to kill him. He started hating him. And the problem is, if you didn't do the job, then you need to honor the person that's going to do it. And so Saul had a lack of honor towards David because he was chosen. David was chosen. He had chosen the son of Jesse to be king over him. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes you lose your spot, you lose your position. Instead of us honoring the person that's going to do it because you didn't do it, you dropped the ball, you start hating against them. You start trying to find ways to discredit them or assassinate their character, or just straight out just don't cooperate with them as a whole. We'll get into the Mashiach. The problem we had there was everybody wanted to keep bringing him back to the carpenter, the son of Joseph and the son of Mary, the brother of James. They didn't want to deal with him as the one that came to be the prophet, to minister the word, to be the savior. They didn't want to see him that way. They didn't want to see him as a prophet at all. And so the problem with that situation was his actual familiarity. You know, this is the thing when people try to get you on a common ground. So they use this so they don't respect you. They want to bring you back to the old you. Remember, we go to 2 Corinthians 5:17. It talks about being a new creature. You know what I'm saying? So old things are passed away, all things have become new. So if any man being Mashiach, he is a new creature. And no one wants to recognize the new creature in you. They want to recognize you from the flesh. This is why we have to stop dealing with people and identifying with people so much as from the flesh all the time. We know people according to the flesh, but in order to get on the level of Mashiach, you got to be led by the Ruach. And sometimes the flesh will get in the way. And, this isn't knocking anybody that know individuals from the flesh or anything like that. But what we're saying is the flesh shouldn't cause you to respect somebody just because of the flesh. Like somebody, the things that work when you were out there in the world shouldn't be working now. It's like, when we deal with, for us, people trying to, quote unquote, get cool with you or whatever like that. It's okay to get to know somebody, but when you start dealing with cool and all this kind of stuff, it's trying to bring you to a common ground. What it is, when people don't really want to acknowledge the Mashiach, I would say for us, the Ruach HaKodesh in you, what they try to do is remember things about you, and they start trying to discredit you and assassinate your character based on the past. That's the thing. It's all based on the past. That's why when you get in the word, it talks about being blameless. That's why if you're going to take the mantle of a bishop, anyone that's in overseer position, it says you must be blameless. That's the thing. So you have to make sure that you're always ready to teach, always ready and knowing how to defend what we call the gospel, and knowing how to defend the faith of the belief as a whole. So we have to look at this right here and say, okay, how do we stop? How do we honor people for one thing? How do we stop people from dishonoring us? Well, you can't. Only thing you can do is make sure you don't have anything true from the moment that you said, I do to the Mashiach. Everything that they bring up is going to be old. It's a Ruach, a spirit, I would say, for those that don't know what Ruach is, that's in us as the flesh, that tries to bring people down to reality. And when that happens, you can't even honor the anointing that's on a person's life because you keep seeing the flesh. That's why it's important how you deal with people when you're around people. This is why you can't cause those that are in the faith to stumble. You don't want to cause them to stumble, like certain things that you would do, you don't do sometimes around people, even though it's not sin, because it'll cause them to stumble because they'll see you doing such and such and it's not a sin, and it'll be like turn into a weight to them. Whatever the case may be. And it's like you'll say, okay, well, ain't nothing wrong with this. This isn't a sin, but if he's called you to a high calling to actually protect this thing, what we call the anointing, I would say, and to protect the view of people, because sometimes people, when they have a tarnished view of you, it'll cause them to fall because they won't realize that you're not having a problem, and they'll start having a problem. And what they'll try to do is say, okay, look, well, such and such was doing this, it shouldn't be nothing wrong with it, and they'll fall. And this is the reason why you have to make sure that you walk upright at all times. Certain ones you just can't do certain things with all around. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to stop altogether just for the sake of it, just for conscience sake, so that you can, just double, check yourself to make sure that you're walking upright at all times. But the problem with this is we're saying that when it comes to honor, people, they're not going to honor somebody that's walking with them. And I'm saying that because the word says, how can two walk together unless they agree? Well, if you're walking with somebody and they're walking in sin and you're not walking in sin and you're trying to be quote unquote, as I said, cool or buddy, and that's no different from you and them, certain things they'll try to do or say around you just to see if they can, sweet it in so they can kind of make you, familiar like that. They're trying to get you on their level in a sense, what I'm trying to say. Not saying that you're better than somebody sometime when you're in ministry, when you're in the truth. It's just that you have a greater responsibility than them. Especially if you're a minister, if you're actually leading the flock, your responsibility is greater and it's to the flock. You have to make sure that you're actually feeding them in a proper manner, not causing any type of backlash, because that's what they do. They start going, then, if you're in some type of congregation, words start getting around, where the pastor did this or this happened with the elder such and such, and they doing this and they going through this and that, and you telling your wife something, and then they're telling this other sister something, thinking it's going to leave. A kid slip up in here and anything happen. Now it spreads throughout that, that y'all arguing and this is going on. Then they use that to assassinate your character, no matter how the anointing is. And you can have something for them, but they won't be able to receive it because they've already discredited you based on the rumors and the information that they heard. That's why it's important that it has to be boundaries for one thing. When we're dealing with this here, I know there's a lot of people, and I have to deal with this because a lot of people, they will allow family members, or allow people to bring them on a common ground to a point where they don't even respect them because of the fact they're saying, look, you're no different than me. Like, it has to be a different. This is the problem. Most of us don't want to be set apart. Right. To truly be set apart, you have to be what we call the black sheep is set apart. That's why it's called the black sheep, and we're using that as a bad thing. But in the Mashiach, that's a good thing because we convert more people to the belief or to what we call the faith. Then they'll all be black sheep according to the world, because we're not supposed to be walking with the world. And we have those that are friends or family members. We have to deal with them as such, but at the same time, we can't allow them to bring us to the level of them because they want to live in sin. Like certain jokes and stuff like that, if you know it's sin, sometimes it's not even good to even entertain them. But we get caught up entertaining them just because we want to be entertained. But do we to the point where we done fell out so bad to sin has to entertain us? Like I'm talking about to the point we know somebody is doing this or doing that and they know it's wrong and they go tell it to us in joke form, trying to make it like, well, it's fine, but it's sin. It's nothing different. The Most High is still looking at that as this is a situation where you allow a seed to be sown. It's like they've tried to figure crack to come in where they can bring you to common ground to use you to deal with on that level. And you have to get to a point where you make people, and I hate to say this, but if somebody's in sin, they should feel uncomfortable being around somebody that's not in sin because they should want to get it right. And if they don't feel uncomfortable, that means that they'll reduce you to a common ground and brought you to that cool status that I'm saying that makes it feel like they can say or do anything around you. And I'm not saying people can't do what they want to do, but if I'm not at a work setting or some type of place where I got to stay in line or get this or do that, I don't have to entertain the garbage. That's the thing. And people don't realize that, offense has to come for people to get delivered. And it's like they'll get offended, but they'll come back around. You have to just say, look, and if it's something you've done or said around them, the only way to nip it in the bud is to repent and apologize right to them. Say, look, I know I entertained that last time. I shouldn't have did that. I repent to y'all. My bad. I apologize. I won't carry myself like that. But from this point on, can't entertain that. That's what you got to do. Go on, nip it in the bud. And that way they won't feel comfortable coming back because they'll try to throw that back up. Well, you last time, you would keep and laugh and go straight to them, nip it in the bud, kill it. That way they'll start respecting you from that point on. They won't bring that garbage to you. And that's how you have to do that. You have to deal with, because when we have, a lot of, I want to say ninja spirits that we have, especially amongst our people. I say it like that for, not getting flagged, but that's what that is. That's that spirit that wants to bring you down to reality. And see, the thing is, the Most High is not dealing with reality like that. He's dealing with a level, extraordinary. He's dealing with a level of belief that's beyond this earth realm. And in order for you to operate in faith, you can't constantly run with doubts. I mean, it's not going to happen. You're running with somebody that's telling you minute thing, and you're worrying about the kingdom of Yah. You're worrying about the return of the Mashiach. That doesn't mix. And, it's like you got somebody wanting you to entertain their fornication and all this kind of stuff. You don't have to entertain that stuff. And that's the thing. We have to stop it. We have to get to a point where a person don't feel comfortable telling us in joke form, fornicating and all this kind of stuff for what they're doing as a whole. That the thing that's not pleasing in the sight of the Most High. The reason they do it because we brought ourselves down to their level. It's like we have to realize that it's not that you're better than somebody, but once again, when you have a greater responsibility, you have to carry yourself in a manner which is separate from people that's not trying to walk right. And the way you do that is you don't, totally separate yourself. You separate yourself from situations and conversations. That's the thing. And the person, they'll bring the proper conversation to you, but you have to enforce it. And the way you enforce it is stop it when you see it coming and you know it's not of Yah. If you don't do it, then you have the accountable under Yah, because he's saying, okay, what is this? How would you feel? Would you do this if you knew you was in the presence of the Mashiach, entertain certain foolishness and certain things that that's not right. People backbiting and trying to come against, certain ones, and you don't even know the whole story. Like, it's like a lot of this stuff, you have to just stop and say, hey, look, don't even tell me no more. Let me go give them anything, whatever you got to do to nip this in the bud, because most of the time, these people don't want you to get nobody. They don't want to get it brought to the surface. They just want you to entertain the garbage. And most of them will fold right in the presence of you getting this person. Say, okay, now tell me what you were saying. And they won't want to do that. So it's like we have to just go on and be upfront. The only way we're going to walk upright before Yah is the fact that we have to have honor for for ourselves as a whole. We have to know the fact that we are a vessel made unto honor. How are you a vessel made unto honor and you operate in a form dishonoring one, even unknowingly? So we're going to deal with Mark chapter 6, 1-6, where they tried to discredit and they dishonored the Mashiach. They didn't want to honor him according to who he was. They want to keep bringing him back to a carpenter. keep taking him back to, to his familiar, background. And that's what people try to relate to you with. I mean, when they say, well, how do we know him? When you meet somebody, especially in the town where I'm from, the first thing they start trying to do is figure out what school you went to, what church you were from, who your people is, and all that stuff doesn't identify you. That's the thing, but that's what they try to do to get coming with you. And they say, okay, yo, this and that, your dad. And they start discrediting the people around you, and they use it against you, as if you can control what these people are doing or what happened when you were in school. Like, certain things, even if you've done something, if you're saying now that you're saved, then you shouldn't be held accountable to that in their eyes. Like we don't want to give people an opportunity to change. And this is the reason why a prophet is without honor in his own country, because in his own country, people know him and people are not going to give him the respect they need. And it's hard for the ruach of the spirit of faith to move and do miracles and healing. Go ahead.
Mark chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, verse 1. And he went out from thence and came into his own country, and his disciples followed him. And when the Shabbat was come, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, from whence has this man these things? And what wisdom is this which is given unto him, that even such mighty works are wrought by his hands?
Okay, pause it there. So astonished. And, I just kind of sum that up as to being blown away. You know what I'm saying? They were just, they were surprised. I would say greatly surprised, impressed, or amazed. It's like they were just like mind blown that he's doing this. And what's making them mind blown is because they know him. This is what I'm trying to get to. What's making them be astonished? Now, don't get me wrong. They're astonished because of the miracle, but what's making them truly be mind blown and astonished is because of the fact that they know who this is. They're saying, look, we've been seeing you grow up as a young child. And here you is doing this. Like, how is this happening? And they see it happen, but yet in the midst of seeing this happen, they want to find some other way to say, look, this, look, we don't like this. It's like they start straight hating against it. Go ahead.
3. Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Yehuda and Simon?
See that they reduced them down to his background and to his family member. That's what I was just saying. The same thing happened. Y'all know how it go. When you go somewhere, even back in the day at church, they start finding out things that they can find out about the pastor. So they can try to say, okay, look, I remember him from here. He was this, and that. And then they start trying to figure out ways to discredit him so they won't give him credit for the way that the way that he's being used by the Ruach HaKodesh. Go ahead.
And are not his sisters here with us? And they were offended at him.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's hating. They were offended at him. They were hating, full of hatred. What are you offended for if somebody's doing miracles in the Mashiach? Right. Just because you know them. That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same Ruach. I keep saying it's that ninja spirit. That's what I'm saying. And y'all know what I mean when I say ninja. That's that spirit we operate in as a people. I'm talking about Yasharah, that ninja spirit. We just can't give nobody credit because of the fact that we've seen them do something. And most of the stuff that you probably seen them do or heard them say wasn't even sin. It's just the fact that you saw it being so common to the point where you said, look, well, it can't be too much for them to them. But this isn't the way the Ruach works. This isn't the way the realm of Yah operates. The realm of Yah operates because in a form and fashion to those that have the belief in him. That's why I said, if you have belief in Yah, I say without belief, it's impossible to please Yah. He believed Yah. The Mashiach was always set up to a point where he knew that when there was a lot of lack of faith going on, it was going to be an issue. But if you notice, everybody that got his attention had faith. Everybody that got his attention, the woman with the issue of blood had faith. He was coming through a crowd of people. The disciples didn't even understand it. He was like, somebody touched me. They was like, look, well, everybody's brushing up against you. What do you mean somebody touched you? And he was like, no, virtue left me, power left me. But she had faith. She believed. When she touched, she said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I can be made whole. She wasn't getting familiar with him. She wanted him for what she knew was there, the anointing. And this is why a lot of people miss out as a whole. A lot of people miss out as a whole because you got people that are powerful in the word of Yah, powerful in prayer, powerful in ministry as a whole, but just because you know them, you know what I'm saying, you'll say, okay, look, I can't, receive this because of the fact that, it's like it'll take something away from you. That's that ninja spirit. You feel like you'll be subtracted because of the fact that this individual has to help you, be it a cousin, family member, friend, or something, or somebody in general that's in the truth now, and you just can't handle the fact that the Most High has begun to put the anointing on them and begin to grace them with the ability to do these things. You can't see it because you didn't, if you couldn't be a part of that process, you don't want to respect the fact that it happened. Like, you know, people can steal away, you know, people got history, people got things that have happened between them and Yah. There are moments that happen in people's life, shift changes that happen in people's life that cause them, if something can cause you to snap and commit suicide or go left, yeah, something can cause you to snap and go right. So it's like, so why are we looking at it one way? Like we psych ourselves out. Like these things, like I'm not big into this cosmos meditation stuff and that, but I am a realistic individual. I know that if I think on things that are positive, most likely when things happen that's negative, I'll be able to overweight them if I have the Mashiach backing me up with that, and I'm not putting my interest only in what I'm thinking. I know that I'm not supposed to walk around being negative and defeated all the time. There's a way of living that you can be. There's a way of going and a way of thinking that you can have that actually cause you to be a positive person. And you don't have to be positive about everything. There's a time for everything. But overall, if your character is negative, we usually see that. We label people that's like that. Every time we see them, it's something, woe is me, something that went wrong. It's always somebody done something to them all the time. It's everybody, them against the world, 24/7, they're at war with everybody. That person is not at rest. And that's what I'm saying. So if you can take a person like that, when you flip that and take that person that's always saying things positive, then not to the phony state. We ain't talking about this blessed and highly favored stuff people would say when you ask them how they're doing. We talking about a realist, somebody that's real, that's not trying to complain, that's actually making an effort to be positive from their heart. This individual, you'll see it. You'll say this person has a kind heart. They always been that. And then don't get me wrong, they'll check you when the time comes too, because you know this person is real. But we know overall, if something has happened with this person, we'll say, well, something must have went south because we know their character and they don't act like that. So something had to go south. We'll know that. But if they can't say that about you, then you labeled as a troublemaker, a talebearer, and all this kind of stuff, then that's an issue as a whole. These are the people that don't want to honor nobody because they don't have no honor themselves. Like they're always, how can you honor somebody and you always in a position where you're defeated, 24/7, you're defeated. You have to watch it. The rock, spirit of negativity get upon you and depression to come in, and next thing you know, it'll start trying to bring in all kind of suicidal thoughts, make you feel oppressed, make you feel less than. These things you have to fight on a regular basis. These are spirits. Like, you know, it's not free. Like life is not given. It's not just yours to just have and not be bothered. When you're saying that you're in the truth, you're at war once you enter into this truth. You're at war at that point with the enemy. You're at war with your flesh as a whole. You're at war with all type of thoughts. You have to cast these things down. It's like we just want to just ease and walk into this thing. It doesn't work that way. If you don't fight, you'll get beat up. And getting beat up is these negative thoughts that they take root, plant seed, and they grow. This is why you take somebody that was once positive, now they're negative. Now they're defeated. I had to shake that spirit off when I was where I'm at, a point where things wasn't going like where I want them to go to. I started being negative a lot. And my wife said, hey, look, you started talking a lot of negativity. And I had to change that. I had to find out what was causing me to do that and change it. I had to change that. And once I changed that, I was not doing that anymore. Don't get me wrong. We have things we complain about, but you shouldn't be labeled as somebody that's constantly being negative. You have to receive it when you hear from somebody and do something about it. But when you catch somebody that's constantly being negative, constantly griping, like these people just a bunch of talebearers. That's why they start saying, it's not this he, it's not this, the son of Joseph, the son of Mary, is not this, the brother of James. Like all this stuff they tried to do to bring him to a common ground, all because they didn't like the fact that he performed miracles. It say they were upset, they were mad, they were offended. And that's the thing, people don't want to hear it. That's the first thing start happening. If you don't watch it, when you see certain people and you remember their background, don't just start straight trying to discredit them. Hear it out. If you've been put in the presence of them, if you've been put around them, and you ran into them, and they're telling you about, hey, look, I've got saved and this and that. Listen to them. Don't start trying to think about when they used to smoke crack. I mean, that's 20 years ago. Even if so it's like you just have to really check yourself in these areas, because what we do is we don't allow people to grow. We don't allow people to evolve just because you know somebody. It doesn't excuse them from growing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't stop the Mashiach from using somebody that's been in your presence. That's the thing. Like, you don't control the atmosphere of everybody that's been around you or the actual way of going. The Most High run you into somebody you ain't seen in 15 years. And when the last time you saw them, Y'all could have been in the club doing any kind of sin or whatever like that, and you're gonna remember that. But if he brought them around to you, you have to realize, okay, hear this person out. You may hear a testimony, but you don't hear the testimony because all you're trying to do is bring them to 20 years ago. It's 20 years. They can have a 20-year-old child. Like, it's like we have to stop that. And that's what Michelle put in my heart, people that need to hear this in general, not so much as all who listen to me, but the video will be posted on YouTube, and certain ones may need to hear about the lack of honor. It's like we dishonor, and through that we start discrediting people and assassinating their characters. Like we go all the way to the end to make it where everything they said doesn't mean anything because of what they were doing. This is why it's so important to walk upright. This is why it's so important to stop letting people bring you to a common ground. Friends, family members, people in general, whoever you know, they don't have to do anything, but you have to make it where they feel uncomfortable telling you stuff when you cut it off. Say, look, hey, look, I can't entertain that. Because what it does is gets in your spirit. And as it gets in your spirit, now here it is. You ever notice this is what goes on when people are upset about something of you. If this person is somebody you're supposed to be taking care of or something like that, stop taking on people battles and anger and stuff about things that somebody done to them and they're walking in the flesh. Like you got people that's in the flesh, walking in the flesh, and things are happening. You're getting involved in that stuff. Like you don't supposed to do that because what it does is disrupt your shalom, your peace. Why is it disrupting your peace? Can you go rectify the situation and make it where it's no issue? No, you just get on there. Now you're mad, everybody mad, and everybody's down for nothing because the person's going to keep doing it and they're not even saved. It's like, what's the point? Just stop. That's once again being a garbage can for people. Stop letting people dump their mess on you and get you involved into their what we call beefs and stuff like that when it's not going to end in a good result. If there's no way you can get everybody together, that's why I said at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let everything be established. The proper way to do things, if you're in the truth of what we would call the belief, go get those that are accusing a certain one, everybody come to the table and figure out how we're going to fix this situation instead of the back and forth chitter chatter and stuff like that leads to nothing. And at the end of all that, we don't fix anything. We just got people that have already came to their own conclusion without no judgment or nothing. We're supposed to be judging one another. We're supposed to be judging amongst ourselves right from wrong when things happen. But when it comes to the world, they're already judged. Like, why are we letting the world carry us into their mess if we can't help get them saved? And it's like we have to draw the line. If someone is walking for Yah or not. Just because somebody say Yah bless you or get to call on all these Hebrew names and call on whatever names that they're in Christianity, that doesn't mean anything like that. What it's saying, if they're not walking upright, they're not walking before Yah. So a church member is not good enough to get caught up into their message just because they come to church. That's not it. You don't get caught up into their message, but you got to say, look, hey, you want to pray about it? What do you think we need to do to fix the situation? Go straight to the end of it. Don't even get into it, because what happens is you get caught up into it, and now you're upset and things are attacking you. You already got enough going on as it is. Things happen in your life, and here you is mad about something that doesn't even concern you. You can keep going. I think we stopped off with.
But Yahushua said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country, and among his own kin, in his own house.
And that's the thing. And it's saying it just like that. His own country, among his own kin, in his own house. Talking about physical house. Because people get so common with you, they don't see it. They go for parents, they go for anything. You're not seeing it because you say, okay, look, I know them. They don't mean any harm. It's just they don't see the anointing that's on your life. They just see you from a flesh standpoint. And it causes them. That's why the word talks about, we'll go there later about the 5th commandment when it talks about to honor your mother and your father. It's not dealing with that as just from a fleshly standpoint in general. It's dealing with it all together as a whole. It's going to cover all bases. You give honor to whom honor is due in general, and then you give honor, double honor to those that are actually operating and walking in the faith. That's holding the mantle of Yah, that's doing the truth. So it's like you have to look at this from the standpoint of making sure you don't lose, because you'll lose, because you got people that's been, this is why we hear this when I talk about this a lot, where you have like where Eli's sons, they were evil. We know they were evil. They couldn't have been honoring Eli, because they started doing what they want to do, and they didn't receive none of it. They just straight start and he flipped, start taking bribes and everything. And then you have Samuel's son. They did not walk up right before Yah. We know he walked up. It say none of his words hit the ground. So therefore, they didn't honor Samuel, and they were in his house. That's what I'm saying. Like just because you stay in here, you eat food with somebody or whatever, you stay in their house, don't mean you're gonna when we say honor, we talking as everything in general. Like when you've been taught something, taught a way of life, it's a great honor to see your children, your family members, those that you know you taught the truth to, walking upright before Yah. And that's the thing. And it's like, and people don't see that as anything but a light thing, because everybody had this individualism type mindset to the point where when pride kicks in, it's like, well, you can't tell me nothing. I can do what I want to do. And that's what stops people. I'm saying that's what stops people from actually making it to that next level, because sometimes to get to that next level, somebody has to tell you something. I'm not saying just tell it to you. You have to receive it and embrace it. And when you just hear it, the Most High knows that's a rebellious spirit or ruach. To those that don't know what ruach means, it means spirit. That's what that is. That's rebellion. So when it kicks in, it causes you to say, look, I'm gonna listen to it, but I ain't gonna do it. And it's the right thing to do, but you're losing out. And so why you wait 5 or 10 years down the line to get something you could have got in the beginning? You don't get it because of the fact that you feel like you're big enough and nobody can tell you. At my age, and even when I get to the age of my granddad, I'm never going to be big enough where nobody can tell me or where I can't hear anything, because that's how we do. We help us one towards another, one to another. It's like when we have ones that around that know the truth or have been through certain circumstances in life, they can tell it to us prior to us having to deal with it. But since we want to experience our own, see, this experiencing your own stuff come through Babylon. This is what we've been corrupted of, and it destroyed our people. It destroyed our children. It just took them down a road that's so crazy. And I'm not trying to really go off left, but I mean, looking at First 48 last night and looking at some of the murders and stuff that go on, I'm looking at this young 19-year-old boy, I think, gets killed because he's in the club and they're in there doing gang stuff and all this, and he's supposed to be, he has a 401k, as mom said, and his future was playing out, everything he's trying to do, but he's in there because of a lack of guidance, because he wants to be grown. He wants to do what he wants to do. And since he wants to be grown, to being grown in this society in Babylon means go out there and kick it and have a good time. What the world teaches you to enjoy life, experience life. What is experience life? Like life is really another excuse to say, look, I'm not going to be walking by Mashiach. I'm going to walk by life right now. And then later on, I'll get with the Mashiach. That's all you're saying when you say I want to enjoy life and experience stuff, because you see others doing it. Without any negative influence or anything around you, you won't feel that way. If you wasn't in Babylon, you wouldn't feel that way. If you didn't have the pressure of social media, if you didn't have the pressure of those that you've seen experience these things you want to experience, you wouldn't feel that way. But when we were as a nation, we were as a whole back at home, that was not an issue, because we were already warned not to embrace the ways of the heathens. But this is what we're embracing. And the heathen teaches you to be oppressed, to be in debt, to be able to do it the hard way for a little while, and then later on things will get easy. But it was never hard in the beginning for us. Everything was set up as parents, children were set up. It was no issue with them. Everybody had inheritance. Everybody had something. People didn't just, just rough it like they're doing now. But this is what goes on, because through oppression, through slavery, and through everything that we've been through as a people, it taught us to do it the hard way, through how they corrupted our neighborhoods and bought the fathers out the home and bought all kind of assistance and stuff to the mothers and stuff, to a point where it was the playing field was like, hey, look, only thing that's left to raise your children is the street, because she got to go to work and get it. He's gone. Drugs, caught up in all this stuff. So it's like when you look at everything we have to deal with as a people, you'll realize that that's not the right blueprint that we've been given by Babylon. I mean, we're not supposed to just throw our children to the wolves, but that's what goes on. And not only that we're not supposed to throw them to the wolves, they shouldn't have desire to just go to the wolves. But they got that desire now because Babylon, they've been influenced. It's a great influence, because that's all they have to look around them is where they're at. We were back at home. We don't have TV and everything going on, and our people are not doing other stuff. They'll be gravitating toward the stuff that they're doing. It's like young women back then started families. I mean, they had money, they weren't broke. We talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, it wasn't anything about them not having things. We had maid service, men service, and we wasn't on a low level of living. But in this society that we're in, we've been reduced to a common way of going. So it's like we reduce our children to that manner. And then now we have to fight stuff that you wouldn't have to fight if you would just do it right the first time. Like our focus needs to change. We need to stop running after being raised by the world and operating in this system of things. We need to try to focus on operating separate from this system of things. And the only way to do that is to be a trade, to get your trade, be a business starter. Whatever you got to do, if you got to use Babylon to get to your level, let the end result be not being caught up in Babylon. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand you have to function here, and they have things that can be used by you. You know, so but you have to make sure that when you're doing things, it's from a standpoint of the Most High, not from your own inner desires. And the way you get desires is the things that's around you. That's why it was horrible when we came here. Everything that's around, that's why people, when they come from a certain neighborhood and they're out there doing drugs, some of them either start selling them or doing them if they get caught up. You know, what's gonna happen to a young man at 14 when he start hanging out there with his homeboy whose daddy is on crack? You know what I mean? His mama may be on crack and your mama may not be on, but you hang with them and they start selling it. Then what are you gonna do after so long? If you hang around 10 crack dealers, you're gonna be number 11. That's just how it's gonna work. I mean, the math is not, it don't take a rocket science to figure it out. You hang around 10 millionaires, you can possibly be number 11. Because I understand it may take a little bit more to be that, but it'll gravitate you toward having something. You won't be broke. So it's like, you know, you have to look at these things and be logical about what's going on in life. So it's like, you know, whatever's influencing you, that's what you're going to gravitate towards. So it's up to you to feed yourself with things that, you know, that you want to actually become. You can go ahead.
And he could do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. And he went round about the villages teaching.
See that? So he marveled because of their unbelief. He asked Mark, he was like, man, and in his mind, he thinking, I've been with you all this time and here I am doing it. Y'all don't want to believe it. Nah, they ain't want to hear it. They saw it and didn't believe it. Right. That's bad. So we'll go to Exodus 20 and 12, which is the 5th commandment.
Exodus 20 and 12, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which Yahuwah Elohei gives you.
And that's all he's saying, that your days may be long upon the land that he gives you. So we think, you know, and it's like we think, okay, we don't say it's going to shorten. You look at what it's saying. It ain't going to be long. So what's not being long? Short. I mean, like, you know, we have to quit trying to flip this stuff. You know, it is what it is. I mean, if we don't say it, then, you know, no one is held accountable, but everybody that hears this is held accountable, because you have to realize that if you're not doing it, then you're doing the opposite. No talk. Come on, let's go to, we got Romans 12.
Romans chapter 12, verse 10. Mm-hmm. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, and honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in the ruach, serving Yahuwah, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of the set apart, giving to hospitality. And
that's the thing, like these things is telling us to do. And one thing is said, not slothful in business. And we know what that means. Anything that you're supposed to be taking care of, you know what I'm saying, you're supposed to be taking care of that. We know what that is, that important thing to you, what it is that you're supposed to be doing as a whole, business as a father, business as a mother, business as an employee, whatever you're supposed to be doing in general, as an employee or employer as a whole, just business in general, the business of the Most High. Like all together, it's telling you everything that you should be doing, but it's telling you about honor too. And so if you don't have any honor, and then, you know, it's like you're lacking, like it right. Stops you. Honor is where it all starts at. So we'll go to John 3, verse 5 and 6. So this is what we're talking about the honor. Like, you know, for you to even get honor, you have to make sure that you're actually born again. If you're not born again, you know, it's like you still operating in the flesh. Then you can't be, you know, like no one's finna honor the flesh. It's just not gonna happen. Now we honor the flesh for us, you know, when it boils back down to our mother and father to tell us, but people don't realize that, you know, nothing against everybody else, but they don't go for the rest of the people. I mean, it said honor thy mother and father, not that you dishonor other people that's not your mother and father, but I'm saying the commandment says honor your mother and father. Those are the ones, but anything outside of that, you know, whoever it may be, this is what they have to realize that, hey, look, you know, I can't just give you no special honor like I give my mother and father because you want to keep being in the flesh. Like they can be in the flesh according to the scripture. Like they don't have to walk up right before the Most High or nothing. There's no other stipulation that said honor them. That's what it says. And it doesn't say they save and not, it don't say none of that extra stuff, honor them. But people in general, family members and stuff like that, want that same respect. We don't owe no family members the same respect as it do to mother and father. And that's what I mean by it has to be some type of boundary line. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to take on the mess and the weight of ones that are friends, family, and stuff like that, as if you would a mother and father. Not that you let a mother and father, you know, disrespect you, and you don't actually try to say it in a way to try to say something back to what I'm saying. That entanglement that y'all got going on, that energy that you put back and forth, you don't owe that energy to somebody that's not a mother and father. That's what I'm saying. You have to, you know, at least in your mind through the honor, try to go the extra step with them based on the commandment. But there's no commandment that's saying honor anything different. Honor our friend, or cousin, whatever like that. It'll be David. Like, it don't say that. But they want that same respect because they want to reduce you to common ground. And this is what I'm trying to say. And if you don't realize this right here, this is going to be a problem and an issue. Is going to hinder you as a whole. And I'm not saying this to be, I would say, like saying, look, we dishonor other ones. But I'm saying is dishonor here is for a mother and father. And it's not due to someone that's not. That's the thing. And so someone that's not has to be walking upright. I mean, I'm saying, like, to not that you would dishonor somebody in the flesh, but for you to actually entertain some of the stuff that you would entertain from parents, you know, they need to kind of be walking upright because you don't owe them that energy. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can protect your energy from those that are not a mother and father that's not in the truth. That's the thing. That's what we have to realize. We don't do that because we've been taught to just be common and just, you know, just get along. Don't say anything that's going to ruffle any feathers and just be the same. Like when people say stuff like, don't change, stay the same, and all this stuff, that ain't nothing but a bunch of flesh talk. The word tells you to change. It don't tell you to stay the same. That's street talk. Don't change, stay the same, or you change because you left the hood, or this and that. All that's nothing but a bunch of street talk. You don't have to worry about none of that. You're supposed to change, and it's supposed to be a difference. They're supposed to see it, and they're supposed to label you as different than them. Even though they see it negative, it's positive to the Most High. And so this is called being set apart. And you're not going to be set apart if you're trying to honor everybody. And no matter what they're doing, you honor them in sin and everything they're doing just because you're familiar with them. That's where the Most High has a problem at. He don't want you honoring sin, honoring people that's in the flesh that's operating in sin as if you would a mother and father. That's the thing. This is where we have to separate this. I mean, in the word separates. It doesn't have any stipulation for them. It says to honor them. That's it. And whatever way you feel fit to do that, you do that. But it's not supposed to be any extra energy toward those that are not, that's not trying to walk right in the truth, especially those that you've been knowing and you know they're not walking in the truth. Why are you constantly letting these people drag you down on a regular basis, constantly pulling you to their level on a regular basis, constantly trying to, you know, I would say molest your ears with all this nonsense and stuff that they have going on. You don't have to deal with that. You have to draw the line. And the way you draw the line, you offer some type of service, or you separate one or the other. It's like, and the separation gonna come because they're gonna take offense to you not want to entertain the crap. That's what we have to do. If we don't do that, then it's like, you know, how we actually operate as being set apart. You know, how you born again, operating like you was prior to being born again.
Mm-hmm. John chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Yahusha answered, Amen, I say unto you, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Yahuwah. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Ruach is Ruach. I
went straight to that because we already know the story about Nicodemus. So it's like, you know, want to know how can a man be born again like that, you know? So you already know flesh is flesh, Ruach is Ruach. Like you don't have to, you know, you don't have to wonder about it. So if you're born again, you're not operating in the flesh, you're operating in the Ruach. And I'm saying that because you would think on the things of Yah, you'll think on the things according to the belief, or you'll think on a way to operate and to move that's not in the flesh. You know that when you're operating in the flesh, you know when you get in your flesh. That's why the words say be angry, but sin not. We know that the flesh gets angry and these things happen, but sin not. Okay, it's okay to have a healthy, heated debate, but what's the end result of it? We're gonna do Romans 8, 5 through 14. We still dealing with being led by the Ruach, or by the Spirit, for those that don't understand what Ruach means. Romans 8, 5 through 14.
Okay. Romans 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Ruach the things of the Ruach.
Mhm.
For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Yah, for it is not subject to the Torah of Yahuwah, neither indeed can be.
Okay, this is why you can't give them that same honor. If there's somebody that's operating in the flesh, they have a carnal mind, and they're saying they can't do it. Like they're not going to get on the level where you're at unless they actually embrace the truth. And I'm talking about all the way, like to the point where they're saying, look, not only do I want to be saved, I want to be born again. I want to actually be born again. I want to make sure that I'm born, knowing that I believe everything that's been written according to the Mashiach and according to the prophets. It's like you want to make sure that you're actually in this belief as a whole. You're not halfway in, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Anybody that's trying to just use the name, like they hijack the name of Yah and they stamp it on something they're doing, they put Yah name on it, and they're just operating from the flesh using the name. Like these people are not born again. To be born again, you do things from a sense where it'll actually show that you're not operating in the flesh. You'll know this, like you'll know if somebody's operating in the flesh or not. It doesn't mean being nice or being not nice. We're talking about being led by the Ruach. Like being led by the Ruach may cause you to do things that may cause correction to come. It may cause offense to come, and it may just be simple hospitality. But you have to know that you're not just operating as some thug or something like that. You mean, let's just say, I'm just saying this is what you would be back in the days if you were in what neighborhood I come from, and you don't want to still be known or labeled as anything like that, or labeled as some gangster or something. You want to make sure that you're labeled as somebody that's operating in the Ruach. I mean, if you're not operating in the Ruach, then you can't be operating in nothing else but the flesh. There's nothing else different to operate in.
8. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yah. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach, if so be that the Ruach Yahuwah dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Ruach Mashiach, he is not his.
Okay. And so I say, if you don't have it, you know what I'm saying, you're not his. You don't have the Ruach or the spirit of the Mashiach, you're not his. So how you claim to be his and you don't have the Ruach, but you're saying you got it, but you're not walking in it. You're choosing to do what you want to do. So it's like, we have to make sure that we understand that either you're going to be operating in the Ruach or you're operating in the spirit. I'm saying these things because how are you going to have honor? And most of the time, the honor that we have that's through the flesh is not, is really not counted as honor for real. This is just only because of what you physically seen. You know what I'm saying? But when you actually have honor and you're dealing with what the Most High is showing you to do, he'll show you something. He'll say, look, this is what I need you doing. You can't even be obedient to the Ruach if you don't know how to have honor. Because you're going to say, no, I ain't doing this. I ain't going there. I don't like them like that. I don't know them. But he didn't ask you if you knew anybody. If he came to you and showed you in any form of fashion, what he told you verbally, what he put it in your heart, or what he put an impression on you, where you feel led by the Ruach to connect with somebody that's walking upright, well, you're not going to do it if you're in the flesh, because you're going to go back to what I showed you, the ninja spirit, and start trying to discredit him and everything. But the Most High saying, look, don't discredit him. That's what he started doing with Paul when he was Saul. That's what Ananias, the priest, started doing. They said, look, this is the one that was killing all the Christians, killing, we won't say that, but killing the Yehudim and everything like that, And it's like, okay, well, how am I going, it's like he already got a note, a letter to slay anybody that's walking in your name. And so Ananias is telling this to the Mashiach. He's like, hey, what's going on? So he had to let him know, look, I'm going to show him what great things he'll suffer for my name's sake, but right now I need you to go get with him. So he had to go get with somebody that was actually killing them. And this is the thing. So if he had to do that, then who are you if you can't go give with somebody that said something back in the days you don't like, or was going with somebody you used to go with, or whatever the case may be, however this thing may go, has something different that you don't like, something different about them from back in the days, some contrary way that you didn't like about them, and the Most High sending you to them, but you can't do it because this stuff you've seen in the flesh. All that stuff was in the flesh what Paul was doing when he was Saul. And that's why he let know the priest say, look, I need you to go anoint him. I don't care what you've seen. I've chosen him as a vessel for me. And this is, he overruled that what the priest had in his head, because what he had seen Paul do in the flesh, and he was killing, he was actually, may not have been physically killing them when he was getting them thrown in prison, and a lot of them got killed because of him, put it like that. And so that's why we have to be careful when we're dealing with the Most High. He don't operate on our time and what we feel. and what we discern about certain individuals and stuff like that. He deals with things based on the ruach of the spirit. And to be in the spirit, you have to be able to let go the flesh, because the flesh has a lot of pride attached to it. And when that pride is attached to it, it'll stop you from getting to the next level, because that key to the next level may be in who the Most High told you to connect to. But since you know a past about them, you won't do it. And so it'll hinder you. So once again, it's causing dishonor. The flesh is.
10.
Yeah.
And if Mashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Ruach is life because of righteousness. But the Ruach of him that raised up Yahusha from the dead dwell in you. He that raised up Mashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Ruach that dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh to live after the flesh. But if you live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if you through the Ruach do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many are as led by the Ruach Yahuwah, they are the sons of Yahuwah.
So you're not even a son if you ain't led. I mean, basically, we don't say it, but it just said that men as are led, they are the sons. So that's the thing. So like we have to know how to break down the word, to rightly divide the word of Yah. So when you see this here, it's saying that, okay, you're not even of him if you're not led. So it's like, how are you going to be doing? So this is why it says rebelliousness is after sin of witchcraft. Witchcraft is a work of the flesh, which is manifest in Galatians. And so those that do them should not inherit the kingdom of Yah. So we're dealing with this right here. This is how you dissect the word of Yah. So if you operate in the flesh, you're not going to honor anybody. So you're not going to be led by the Ruach, because of the fact that you're letting the flesh lead you, because the flesh has already caused you to go in a different direction because of what you have felt. And the flesh doesn't deal with anything but feelings and emotions and everything like that and carnal things. The Ruach deals with things of Yah. It overrides how you may be feeling. You may not feel like doing a certain thing, but the Ruach leads you to do it, and it's going to bring fruit. So we're going to go to Romans 8:26 through 28. Just go over a couple more verses.
26. Likewise, the Ruach also helps our infirmities, but we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Ruach itself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered.
Jude talks about praying in your utmost holiest belief of faith, praying in the Ruach HaKodesh. Go ahead.
And he that searches the hearts knows what is the mind of the Ruach, because he makes intercession for the set apart ones, according to the will of Yah. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahuwah, to them who are the called according to his purpose.
See that? A call according to his purpose. Once again, we ain't dealing with the flesh. To be led, to be in the purpose of Yah, and to be called according to his purpose, you have to realize that requires you to walk and be led by the Ruach HaKodesh, not just be led, by the flesh. If you constantly run around being led by the flesh, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to have to get uncomfortable at some point to get what you got to get from Yah. It's going to cause some form of discomfort in your life, because it's like you're going to find yourself doing something that you wouldn't do in your natural mind. And so that's what we have to realize, not that you would be ignorant, but you will be led by Yah. So to be honest, the natural mind is ignorant concerning the things of Yah, because it's not going to line up with it. You have to line up with it. It's not going to be lined up. You're going to see it, and it's going to be like, oh, well, I got to do this. And it's going to say, oh, yeah, I need you to do this. Go apologize to them. You were wrong. Whatever it is that you wouldn't normally do in the flesh, they started it. This was going on in your mind. He's trying to make you be a bigger individual, to let you get to a point where you can win them over. But because they started, you won't do it, so you're going to operate in the spirit of rebellion. This ain't about you when you actually sign up for this. You can't keep trying to do your own thing and keep trying to say, look, I'm going to operate tit for tat and eye for eye. That's not how the Most High does everything. Some things you have to be the one that suffer for wrong in order to win those that actually trying to come in. Some of them may not even be trying to come in because they know what they've done. They know they were wrong. It'll cause them to be convicted. And they'll begin to, probably cry, whatever it may be, and it'll be a hardness that'll break up inside them. But you at war with them, knowing better. And the Most High is going to hold you accountable for it, because you should be the one that's going to apologize because you entered the argument. If a fence happened and you got into some type of strife or something that went on, and even though they started and it went to a level it shouldn't go to, and he's telling you to apologize, this is what he's telling you. He's trying to develop character in you. And you ain't letting him develop the character in you because you worry about who's going to win or lose the argument. And that's where pride comes in at. It stops you from getting to the next level. And so we dealt with that. This last text that we're going to cover here is going to be talking about let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. This is talking about primarily being subject unto those, like if you're at a congregation, if you're under the, I would say, umbrella of someone watching over your soul as a whole, and any other power that you may have, because the Most High, there's an anointing that he have that's on the actual ones that actually ministering the word of Yah, and it's called the sword. And the sword is not just what we talk about as just being the word, but there's power that's involved in this. It's not just what you hear. They're not just standing before you talking. This is why I'm saying there's a power that we don't even talk about, that it's not even, it's meat. And a lot of people that's not even ready to hear this type of meat because they're still doing, still drinking milk. But when you start dealing with the meat of things, this is when you get into Paul. When you say, Hynemus and Alexander, if those words be correct, that I have delivered unto Hasatan of Satan, that I may teach them not to blaspheme. This ain't him. See, this is what we got to deal with. This is where you have to separate the witch doctor from the man of Yah, and the power that you think the man of Yah don't have from the people that's out here showboating and running around here, floating around. That's not that. When you actually operate as somebody of Yah, there's a power that you have. And that power is expressed through all type of ways. I'm talking about through prayer, through anything that, it's not that you're being evil, but when someone is being contrary and you know that this person's soul needs to be saved, sometimes you have to actually get them in position that they may learn, especially if they're blaspheming. Like that, you have to get them in position, and I hate to say this, but this here, I won't even enter into this conversation because I don't think most people are ready to hear it because it's hard to receive it. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to receive. It's kind of like that thorn in the flesh that Paul had, and he said 3 times I had went to the Father for this right here to ask him to remove this thing. He said a messenger of Satan was given to me by Yah, was sent to me, that he may teach me, to actually stay humble, that I may not feel overly exalted above, the norm. Like he had seen too many revelations. He had seen too much. He had spoke too much with Yah to the point where he didn't need to get to a point where he felt like he was floating on what we call cloud 9 and better than everybody. So he had to have something to keep him check. And he kept wanting to get that thing away, but for that thing to be there, the Most High had to know he would get out of hand. Even though he did all these great things, we don't know what would have happened if it weren't for that thorn in the flesh. And so he said, look, let me give him this so he won't get beside himself, because I need him to stay on track. And sometimes you'd be wondering, okay, why do these things happen? Sometimes things happen in your life just to keep you humble, because you won't be humble if you don't have certain things happen. It's like you'll get beside yourself. You won't even start serving the Most High anymore. But I'm talking about the power, because ministers of Yah, that's actually true ministers of Yah, hold a certain reverence. They have a certain honor from Yah. There's a certain grace on their life from Yah, where they have the ear of Yah. They actually have the ear of Yah because they have to give account to those, on behalf of those that they're watching over. They have to, when I say give account, I'm talking about they're not just praying for them. They're saying, hey, look, this one is this and this and that. I don't know why he won't stop doing this. And I mean, we need to figure out what needs to happen. They're actually, like taking names and writing down the information. I'm talking about on a level of the spirit, not physically all the time, but they're saying, hey, look, I've been praying for brother such and such, and it's like, he just won't line up. All he keeps going, doing these things that are not right. Just trying to paraphrase this, won't give any ideas, but it's like, he has to tell this to Yah on behalf of that individual. And this is the thing, and he don't need to do it grievously. He needs to have a good report. You know what I'm saying? This was when you're watching over somebody for real and you have an actually flock at hand, you're held account. This is why, it behooves me when I guess I would say it amazes me when I see these, nothing against the mega type buildings and stuff like that, but it's like, who's keeping account over all these individuals? Like, how can you actually say that you're watching over these souls, and do you have the actual, I would say, the staff that can actually really be set up, that's anointed, that can literally take on certain groups that can actually really watch these people? They just showing up in great numbers. That's what I'm saying. So if they just showing up in great numbers, how do you have how can you say this is your pastor and he don't know you? This is what I'm trying to get at. Like, we can't be misled by the stuff that we see going on in the world. They're just trying to mimic celebrities. So like, this is the thing, but these ministers of Yah give account concerning who you are and what you've done and how you carry yourself. This is why they have to carry themselves upright. And it's the same thing that go for anybody that's over any head of a household. They have to pray to Yah on what's grieving them concerning those people. Like when they know it's contrary, not this flesh stuff, just because you don't like the way they do it. We ain't talking about that. We talking about ones that's literally going down the wrong road. And they're saying that they're trying to operate as the fold. These are people that's saying that they are saved. They're saying that they are believers. So we do Romans 13, 1 through 8.
Romans 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahuwah. The powers that be are ordained of Yahuwah. Whosoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of Yahuwah, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
And it's telling you, resist the power, you resist the ordinance of Yahuwah. He set this up. He set up, Yahuwah does things in order. He doesn't just do things. Like everything, if he's saying something, it's an order. If it's a head and it goes down to the end, it's an order. If you're over a certain assembly and you're supposed to be white, that's why it's important. You know what you're doing when you're actually saying that you are being accountable for somebody's soul. You can't be accountable for 1 million people. Like I'm just saying, I'm sorry, the word doesn't back that up. So go ahead.
For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil.
See, it said rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. So if they're a ruler, if you're good works and you're operating in Yah, they're not against you for good works. They don't have a problem with good works. They have a problem with evil. They're supposed to be destroying evil. Say, for this cause came Mashiach, that he may destroy the works of Hasatan. That's why he came, to come against the kingdom of him and to get his people to come in, because they can have a way to make it into the new kingdom. But he came destroying those works. How can you go out and send two by two and disciples praying and healing and stuff if you're not, what do you think these are? These are unclean ruach, unclean spirit that's coming out of the people. He's destroying the work. A kingdom has been set up inside of them. That's when something is in you that's taking over your body, it's another kingdom inside of you. So he's destroying that. He's destroying that. He's getting that out of you. He's casting that out. He's saying, go thy way and sin no more. That's a greater thing happening to you when he heals. Go ahead. We're talking about the Mashiach when I was explaining that. Go ahead.
Will you then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and you shall have praise of the same.
And he's saying, when you then not be afraid of the power, he's saying you're going to discredit the minister of Yah. I'm just showing you whatever it is that's going on, or the ordinance of Yah, because it'll get to when it start kind of interchanging everything. But you're going to discredit what Yah has set up, and you're not afraid of what Yah has set up. When I say afraid, meaning that you don't want to respect what Yah has set up because you think you have a better way. Go ahead.
For he is the minister of Yahuwah to you for good. But if you do that which is evil, be afraid, for he bears not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of Yahuwah, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that does evil.
And that's the thing. What you call Paul doing when Hannibal Alexander was blaspheming? He said, turn them over to Hasatan. He said that I may teach them. See, we want to take this out of the word and go back to what we learned in Christianity and all this. No, he said that I may teach them not to blaspheme. What do you think happened when they was selling around the time when you had alignment to sorcery and all this stuff going on, when you had the deputy wanted to actually hear about the word of truth in the book of Acts, when he kept on blaspheming, trying to say different stuff, and Paul said, you're going to be blind for a season. He said, you'll be blind for a season. He let men carry him around because he was trying to come against the truth. The deputy wanted to hear the truth. I'm saying like that, but we had a soothsayer there trying to come against him from hearing the truth. Don't recall his name, but we know they were all there at that time. And he was trying to come against the truth, but the deputy wanted to hear the truth. Paul said, look, you're going to be blind for a season. See, we don't want to deal with that. Oh, that's it. No, that's not in the Old Testament. That's in this new covenant that we're in. And this is the thing, but since most of the people that's walking in the truth are trying to mimic somebody else, they lack most of this power. They lack most of the healing, most of the deliverance, like in even what we call the truth now, most of the spiritual gifts are lacking. So some of the stuff is lacking. They don't even have the basic foundation. So how are they going to, be able to enforce any of that? They can't. And so what we're dealing with right here now is the idea of that the Most High, he doesn't have weak ministers. I'm saying that because you're looking at the outward appearance. You got to look at it in the beginning. David didn't appear to be big or nothing like that when he killed Goliath. So it's like, but we're looking at things from a standpoint of, like, when you see Saul, they say he was tall. He was a Benjamite, one of the tallest one. He was so tall he couldn't even hide in the bushes. The people saw a physical, tall, big, strong king, and they wanted him to be king. So if we're looking at, we constantly look at things through our flesh, through our eyes, and through our normal fleshly eyes, and we say, okay, look, this is what looks good, this is what I want, and I'm gonna roll with this. It's always the bigger one, the stronger one, or the one that you think, look the best, whatever. And this is how the Most High operate. He doesn't operate in these fleshly vain things, vanity and stuff like that. He doesn't operate in that. He operates through the Ruach. You'll miss it because you'll listen to somebody that come up with either perfume or cologne, dressed up in this and that, and they start trying to tell you the truth, and they'll be operating through the Ruach or witchcraft. And you'll listen to them because they look the part. But someone comes up that's just normal, commonly dressed, don't smell bad and that, don't have all the extra stuff, just a basic person come telling you the truth, you start trying to judge them, start trying to downsize them, start trying to figure out why they ain't flashing and all this because you've been used to thinking that a minister must be flashing. So it's like, and this is what we have to look at, and we lose like that. And it calls you to be in a position where you say, look, I don't believe this is of Yah, and you've already committed yourself to this. This is something that you already dealing with. You've been there already. You've been listening to this person, going to their church, whatever the case may be, and you're not giving them the credit because they're not coming off the flash like you want them to flash. Yeah.
Wherefore you must needs be subject not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are Yahuwah's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loves another has fulfilled the Torah.
This is why when I was in church, I paid tithes. It didn't mean that I thought it was true. I just knew that if I joined myself to something, I must do according to the house. It didn't mean that I believed it. No, I didn't believe it. But when I was in church and this was going on, that was the tribute I paid because it said that, because I went with that because there was nobody else out here doing what I would call the truth that's letting you do it from your heart. So I say, okay, we know that this is why when I left somewhere, I met with them and made sure they knew it was over. It wasn't no just walking out, letting them think about it. No, it wasn't no, we had a clear understanding that I'm no longer connected to you, so I'm not held accountable to this. I'm not held accountable to still honoring you. I'm not held accountable to any duties I had there. I didn't drop the ball. This is it, it's over. I'm saying? I quit. And that's the thing. So it's like, and this is why we have to be careful to who we join ourselves to. Then it tells you join yourself to somebody that's a harlot, then you become one with the harlot. Same thing. So you join yourself to some church, some ministry, you have to go along with what's going on. You need to check out what you've been involved in, because it tells you paying tribute to whom tribute is due and all this stuff. And I knew that if I'm gonna be somewhere, then I need to make sure that I conform to the rules and regulations of the house. That's all that was. It was just, a proper church ethics, I guess I would say. It didn't have nothing to do with whether it was true or false. I agreed to do it. I lowered whatever I believed just so I can fellowship, because I knew people were, they weren't on the level of anything. They just wanted to be entertained most of the time. So it was hard, but I went alone knowing all this stuff. But I knew that if I was contrary, I would be out of order. Right. That's why when it began to narrow down, my wife would tell you, I would normally check out. And after I check out, it'd be over. I'm talking about mentally, and I just be like, look, I'm done with it. Like I go there and I don't have the fire, the spunk that I had once when I was first coming, and eventually it died. And I say, look, and the reason I would check out, because it wasn't real the whole while. I'm putting up with something that I don't really believe for real, just so I can be around people to fellowship. And that's what it was. So it's not going to last long. Just from experience, you have to make sure when you join to something, this is something that you're aware of, that you want to be a part of. And when you say you want to be a part of something, at that point, I'm saying to those that are in churches and stuff like that, in assemblies and in gatherings, you need to make sure that you know what's going on concerning the word. The Most High is not going to excuse you for being ignorant. Like, you think about it, you'll still get whooped with few stripes. It's up to you. It said, steady to show yourself approved under Yah. You're a workman no matter what. And you have to make sure that when you in something, when you in this truth, everything that's in this truth, that's why you should constantly be reading, constantly studying. What don't excuse you is that when you add up your time, you got more TV time, more phone time than you have word time. So he's not going to excuse you for not knowing. I'm just giving you the straight out example why he won't. So if you got more word time, more TV time, he's not going to excuse you, because he's saying, look, you'll say, well, I didn't know this. What's your excuse for not knowing? Well, I never read it. Well, why when you reading? What you were doing? Well, watching TV. It was on my phone. You would have read it at some point. So it's like that's what we have to do. The Most High is not on our level. We have to stop playing childish games, and we have to stop thinking that just because the way we operate as a people, the Most High is thinking that he's wanting to know what stopped you from finding it out. And you're saying you couldn't find it out. And what stopped you are the things that you've been distracted with that cause you not to come across certain things that you would have came across. That's why it's important that you disconnect yourself from something that you know that you're not trying to be wholeheartedly in, because you're going to be held accountable to what's supposed to be going on because you agreed to do it. When you get up there saying I do it, like a contract. Like, will there be one? When you saying I'm one, now you saying you one not with Yah, but with this congregation. That's what you're doing. You're joining a physical place at that point, and you're joining on that wall when it say what we believe in. Like we get involved in things, we don't realize contracts are not just physical signing, they're verbal also. Like that's why we have the word back then when one would talk, when they said things back in the days, when they gave a word, it was law. It wasn't this stuff where you just take it back and retract and go back. It was whatever. When they said their word was solid. It was that. It was like an oath back then. If they spoke it, they had to follow through with it. That's why when King Herod, after the dance went forth, when King Herod finished, when all that finished, she said, I want to get John the Baptist's head on a charge. He didn't want to do that. He had love for John, but he had to do it because he had gave his word. So he had to go on and get John beheaded and give that head to on the charge. So with that, we'll close out. You have anything, babe? We'll close out with prayer. Father, y'all, thank you right now for the word that went forth. I thank you right now that we begin to acknowledge the word that went forth on a regular basis. I think that we begin to be stewards of the word of you, Father, y'all. I thank you, Father, y'all, we begin to be shepherds, Father, y'all, around, Father, y'all, all times, walking, Father, y'all, concerning the flock as a whole, concerning anyone, Father, y'all, that needs to be saved, anyone, Father, y'all, that wants to come into the truth, Father, y'all, we're always ready to begin to share the word with them, begin to witness, that we get back to witnessing, Father, y'all, we get back to being on fire for you, Father, y'all, we get back to being concerned about your business and not so much as ours, Father, y'all. Yes, Father, y'all, I do believe that we take care of your business, that you will allow us to be able to take care of ours, that you would even take care of some of it for us, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, magnify your name right now because you're worthy, and I thank you right now for being with us as a whole throughout this day. In the name of Saint Yahushua Mashiach, we pray, so be it.
So be it.
All right.